Welcome into Sports Center. There's some breaking news late this evening on an incident Sunday at Talladega. This is a statement from NASCAR. Late this afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly enough how seriously we take this heinous act. We've launched an immediate investigation and will do everything we can to identify the person or persons responsible and eliminate them from the sport. As we have stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR, and this act only strengthens our resolve to make the sport open and welcoming to all. That 43 call.
Well, hello, people. Welcome to Your World on a Canvas. And as you can see, America continues to display its true self. Once a snake, always a snake. These things have been happening in plain sight for as long as America has been in existence. America has always placed a blueprint across the world. Excuse me, not always placed, established the blueprint for how to treat people of color, how to continue to spread poison that oppresses people just for the sake of taking what is not rightfully theirs, whether it's intellectually, physically, emotionally. I turned on Netflix last night, and of course, they are bombarding us, Netflix, I think Prime Video also, all these streaming video entities. They are bombarding us with information overflow. How do we sort through the noise? One of the specials I happened to catch last night on TV, well, not on TV, no, on I think it was Prime Video, has it, or was it Netflix? I don't recall whichever. They all tend to run, together now since we're home, and that's all we have for entertainment, basically. But it was about a woman named Ruth McCullum, I believe her name was, or Ruby McCullum, Ruby McCullum, from Live Oak, Florida. Happened back, I think, in the 40s and 50s. I don't recall what time. Like I said, I was falling asleep and I was watching it. And she killed the white doctor. And so as they go through the trial, find out the doctor had been constantly, violating her as our melanin challenged brothers have been doing to our sisters and brothers for as long as we can remember. And they told them, the judge told the jury, do not pay attention to the child, which was her last daughter. The child was in the courtroom. That baby was the spitting image of that white doctor. Excuse me, I do not like to use the word white. I have to rephrase that. Melanin challenged doctor, because the word white, no one's white. No one's black, no one's white. And they describe him as a hulking man, not fat, just huge. And you've seen men like that. They just, very, very firm in their stature, their height, and you could tell the strength that lies within them, enough to intimidate someone. A lot of them are gentle giants. The few others who use that raw physical power to intimidate are the ones who get all the glory, such as Dr. Adams. So these are the things that continue to happen. It's been happening, will always happen, such as, look at NASCAR. Bubba Wallace is the sole person of African descent that we know of. If you put the genealogy through all of them, you'll find they all root back to Africa. That's through all of it. So that's neither here or there right now. But the physical resemblance of African descent, I'll put it that way. And they put a noose in his garage. How did they get in his garage? Because I'm sure Bubba Wallace doesn't leave his garage open for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to walk through. And Bubba, I invite you, what is your real name? Use your real name. To me, that name Bubba reminds me of the old plantation. Use your real name, young man, or find another moniker, because that word Bubba screams of the old South itself. So if you want to stand up for African American rights, get rid of that name Bubba. How did they get into his garage? It had to be someone that he knew. It had to be someone who was familiar with his garage, his comings and goings. So I would investigate the immediate crew around him, the people who have direct access to his garage, who are not family members. Bubba, when I heard that name, I was looking for a good old country boy. We've been out in the sun for so long, the back of his neck is red. That's what I was looking for when I heard the word Bubba Wallace. Drop that moniker, Bubba. Drop it. That is a symbol of the old South. The South that you said that you are against. Transformation takes strength. Who gave you that nickname? If it was your family, I forgive them, because they weren't really thinking about the connotation of that name Bubba. It does not scream African American. It screams racism, the name Bubba, in my view. So when you sit there and examine, I'm sure your anxiety level, like all of us, our anxiety level is going up. Let's change that moniker, Bubba. Let's change the moniker. Change that name. Keep denouncing the South. Think of all the African American gentlemen that came before you. Remember Willie? They said Willie was too flashy. Every time he won, he jumped on top of his car and he did his little stutter. There's a Netflix special on him also, for those of you who are interested in cars. Go back to the roots. Go back to your history. And only then we can reshape. Yes, so we can reshape our way of thinking. If we continually allow ourselves to be used as pawns in the name of justice, then we are doing a disservice to the generation that have come before us and will come after us. We are still attempting to pour salve over the same wounds that have never healed. We keep picking at the scabs, and now America, the melon challenged part of our country, has actually focused or refocused their lens on the things that they know have been happening, but since it didn't affect them, It was more like a blur passing through the scopes of their vision. Now they're focusing like a camera, zooming in, again, with an intensity just as powerful as the original civil rights movement. But they're not attempting to heal. They're using the same Band-Aid. They want to use the same old soiled, disgusting Band-Aid and expect us to say, hey, it's change, that's reform. But it doesn't work like that. We have to open our eyes ourselves. You know, sometimes you could focus so much or have a singular focus on one thing, and that also distorts your vision because you're reaching out and putting tentacles out in areas that you know that should be addressed, but you have to hone those things around you. The immediacy of your environment requires you to pay attention to it. Your neighborhood, your family values, the village, repair your village. There are pockets here and there of our villages that are intact amongst the the rubble and the continual upheaval through the injustices of this system that continues to pour out into the streets in the form of the blood of our youth. The mental deterioration of our children as soon as they step through the doors of what you call the hallowed halls of education. America is facing an immediate challenge. Well, okay, what's left of America? America is in ruins right now. There is no America. There never was, because of whoever they put in place. They're like, no. They let you know that the Confederacy is still alive. Look what happened to Bubba Wallace. Oh my gosh, Mr. Wallace. Like I said, I don't like that name, Bubba. Okay? It happened to LeBron James. They spray painted the walls on his home. What did he do? He remains there. All of the professional athletes of color, as soon as you see money in your bank account, you run for the hills. You run for the hills of Oz. So instead of putting the scope on the wider frame of the system, put a more intense scope on yourself. Yes, you're all there at the bandwagon. Yes, let's get voting rights. Yes, 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 which is true. Let's get everybody to vote. But as you can see, the long lines of what the system is doing, has perpetuated, is discouraging you from standing there, but now this time you intend to stay in those lines. And whilst we're talking about lines, let's talk about redlining. Okay, so they want to redline our district. They've been doing that forever. Okay, and Democrats have been allowing it because all of them are in cahoots. All of them. Both parties have always been based on racism. The Democrats were the original proponents of racism. And then when they saw how it didn't benefit them politically, they switched their tune. And those Democrats, yes, who wanted to remain in a segregated society where things are still occurring to this day in the year 2021. Think about that. They jumped over to the Republican Party. And that's where the Republican Party became racist. They were probably racist before. I don't know. Where they had members of abolitionists in them. I'll have to dig further on that. I really don't have the background for that right now. However, they're both racist. Why do you think the Democrats and their policies are so toothless? And now we have, you know, the few milquetoasts that are up there in the Senate talking about, oh, how, I have to tell my son, you don't know my pain. But it's only now because, the world is seeing finally through digital media and actually seeing it live for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, what we have been telling you has been happening forever. And I still can't breathe. I don't care what you say. We cannot exhale because we keep fighting for what we think is what they have, that we are lacking. We are not lacking a thing. We are full of life, full of wonder. Look at our children. Look at the spark in their eyes. And as soon as they enter those halls of education, it dies because they beat it out of them mentally. And then they come on the other side, nothing but a zombie of their former self, not knowing who they are. So now the whole education system has to be reformed. The history, the whitewashing of history, all these history books have to be destroyed. What you are feeding, the poison, the injustices that the melon challenged children are facing because they don't see it, because hey, look what history tells us. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, they put before you those milk toast, and please, those are your heroes. But they conformed. And as soon as their eyes were open, what did they do? Again, they snuffed out their spirits. And then you said, well, Malcolm X didn't conform. No. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I tried to conform all my life. I have been miserable conforming to this society. And yes, in the midst of feeling apprehensive and really, really trying to take full breaths, I'm serious, literally taking full breaths as I speak, and still feeling anxious, but I will continue to speak because there are things that I want to say and I have to say, and I don't know how else to say it but here. We have to produce better things for ourselves. We have to understand that the direction America wants to take us is down a path we've been before. It's a direction. It's a direction that keeps us in a catatonic state. And we can't afford that. We have to wake up. Put your world on a canvas and shine.